The family meeting was supposed to be about peace, but as Darius Cole stepped into the lavish living room filled with his in-laws' rehearsed smiles, he knew it was a setup. His wife Tiana stood across the room in a satin emerald gown, her beauty sharp enough to wound. Beside her stood another man, Bryce Langford, the kind who wore arrogance like cologne, one hand casually resting on Tiana's waist, as if claiming what once belonged to Darius. Everyone went silent. The air smelled of betrayal and expensive perfume. Tiana's voice sliced through the tension, smooth but venomous. "Darius, I want you to meet someone very special to me." The words echoed like gunfire in his chest. He didn't blink, didn't move. His calm terrified her more than anger ever could. Around them, her family watched with greedy satisfaction, expecting humiliation, expecting him to break. But Darius only smiled, slow and cold. "Special?" he asked softly, eyes flicking between her and the man touching her. "Funny. I thought vows used to mean something special." Tiana flinched. Bryce's grin faltered. The silence was now heavy enough to crush glass. No one in that room knew that Darius had already seen this coming. No one knew that behind his calm eyes lay a plan that would strip every mask, every lie, every luxury they ever flaunted. He looked at her one last time, his voice barely a whisper, steady, final. "If this is the man you left your husband for, I hope you're ready for what comes next." Her breath caught. What did he mean? What had he already done? And why? Did his calm feel more dangerous than rage itself? The family meeting was supposed to be about peace. But as Darius Cole stepped into the lavish living room filled with his in-laws' rehearsed smiles, he knew it was a setup. His wife Tiana stood across the room in a satin emerald gown, her beauty sharp enough to wound. Beside her stood another man, Bryce Langford, the kind who wore arrogance like cologne, one hand casually resting on Tiana's waist, as if claiming what once belonged to Darius. Everyone went silent. The air smelled of betrayal and expensive perfume. Tiana's voice sliced through the tension, smooth but venomous. "Darius, I want you to meet someone very special to me." The words echoed like gunfire in his chest. He didn't blink, didn't move. His calm terrified her more than anger ever could. Around them, her family watched with greedy satisfaction, expecting humiliation, expecting him to break. But Darius only smiled, slow and cold. "Special?" he asked softly, eyes flicking between her and the man touching her. "Funny. I thought vows used to mean something special." Tiana flinched. Bryce's grin faltered. The silence was now heavy enough to crush glass. No one in that room knew that Darius had already seen this coming. No one knew that behind his calm eyes lay a plan that would strip every mask, every lie, every luxury they ever flaunted. He looked at her one last time, his voice barely a whisper, steady, final. "If this is the man you left your husband for, I hope you're ready for what comes next." Her breath caught. What did he mean? What had he already done? And why? Did his calm feel more dangerous than rage itself? The morning sun sliced through the tall glass windows of the Cole residence, an elegant mansion perched on the quiet edges of North Dallas. Darius Cole adjusted his tie before the mirror, his face expressionless, the kind of calm that comes from long-trained self-control. Beside him, Tiana scrolled through her phone, a faint smile tugging at her lips as she liked an Instagram post of luxury handbags. "Another board meeting?" she asked without looking up. He nodded. "Same schedule. You need anything before I leave?" She didn't answer right away. Her eyes glimmered as she turned toward him, her tone coated with something he'd begun to recognize, sarcastic affection. "Just remember we're partners, Darius. Whatever you have, I have too." He paused, studying her reflection. "Is that about the new inheritance rumor again?" Tiana leaned against the dresser, crossing her arms. "It's not a rumor if everyone knows your father left you millions. My mother said it's unfair I'm still budgeting grocery money while you're hiding gold somewhere." His lips twitched. Not a smile, not anger, something colder. "Your mother's been married 4 times. Maybe she should stop giving financial advice." Tiana's jaw tightened. The air thickened between them, full of quiet wars no one else could see. Downstairs, the children's laughter echoed, innocent and misplaced in the tension-filled house. Darius watched them run past, his son tugging his sister's braids, and a faint ache crossed his chest. He didn't know then that none of those children were his blood. He kissed them both on the forehead. An act that looked like love, but was really discipline. An attempt to keep normalcy alive in a house crumbling under invisible weight. Outside, his black Escalade waited. As he stepped out, his driver glanced at him through the rearview mirror. "Sir, everything okay?" "Everything's fine," Darius replied. But inside, his chest was a locked vault of memories. His father's funeral, his mother's second marriage weeks later, his decision never to be emotionally played again. Back in the house, Tiana's phone buzzed. A text flashed across her screen. "Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. Bryce." She smiled, sliding the phone under a pillow. Her reflection in the mirror looked pleased. Dangerous even. "He'll learn you can't deny me what's mine," she murmured to herself. Outside, Darius's car disappeared down the street. But even as he drove, something in his gut twisted. Years of reading human deceit had sharpened his instincts. He knew Tiana wanted something bigger than love. He just didn't know yet that she would try to take everything, and that when she did, he'd burn her whole world down piece by piece. Rain whispered against the windows that night, the kind of drizzle that made every sound in the house feel louder. Footsteps, sighs, secrets. Darius sat in his home office, the amber light from the desk lamp cutting a faint halo around his head. The inheritance documents lay open before him, stamped, sealed, and silent. His father's signature was there, sharp, powerful, final. $80 million. He closed the file and exhaled slowly, staring into the dim reflection of himself in the glass. A man who had everything yet trusted no one. From upstairs came laughter. Tiana's voice, light and flirtatious, drifting through the ceiling. He frowned. She was on the phone again. Her tone had changed lately, sweetness with a hidden edge. He rose, walked to the door, and stopped halfway up the stairs. "Tiana!" The laughter stopped. "Yes, baby." Her voice was suddenly calm, too calm. "Who are you talking to?" She appeared at the landing, wrapped in a silk robe, phone half hidden behind her thigh. "My cousin. She's in Houston. Why?" He stared for a beat longer than necessary. Just sounded like more than family talk. She smiled faintly. "Then maybe you need to trust your wife more." He said nothing. Trust. He'd grown up watching it die between two people who once swore by it. His mother's fake tears at his father's funeral flashed through his mind. Never again. The next morning, he called his lawyer, Stephen Marks. "Make sure all transfers are private, no joint access, and no one, not even my wife, knows about the trusts." "Understood," Stephen said. "Are we expecting problems?" Darius's jaw tightened. "Not yet, but something's shifting in the wind." That afternoon, as Tiana scrolled through luxury car pages, her phone vibrated again. Bryce's text glowed on her screen. "Did he tell you about the money yet?" "You deserve more." She bit her lip, smiling. "Not yet, but he will." Downstairs, Darius's driver entered quietly. "Sir, the accountant just delivered the updated valuation papers." Darius nodded. "Leave them on the table." He glanced at Tiana descending the stairs in her robe, phone still in hand, her face glowing with the fake innocence of a woman already plotting. "Good news?" she asked sweetly. "Depends on what you define as good." Their eyes met, his, quiet and calculating, hers bright and deceptive. That night, while Darius slept, Tiana forwarded his lawyer's email to a new contact, Bryce Langford. The subject line read, "Inheritance Confirmation." She whispered to herself, smiling in the dark, "If he won't give it to me, I'll take it another way." But what she didn't know was that Darius had already planted a digital tracer in every outgoing email from his account, a habit born from years of watching betrayal unfold in silence. When his phone buzzed at 3:14 a.m. with a notification that one of his private documents had been accessed by an unauthorized user, he didn't panic. He simply smiled. "Now," he whispered, "we're playing for real." Tiana stood before the mirror, holding a silver necklace against her throat, admiring the shimmer that caught the light. Her reflection smiled back, not with love, but triumph. She had spent weeks orchestrating her plan, rehearsing every line, every tear, every look of fake remorse. Tonight's family meeting wasn't reconciliation. It was humiliation dressed as diplomacy. Her mother, Brenda, sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone with wine in hand. "Remember, baby," she said, her words slurred with arrogance. "When you corner a man, don't shout. Smile. Let him feel small while you look perfect." Tiana laughed softly. "I learned from the best." Brenda smirked. "Your father thought he was smart too. I left with his house, his pension, and his best friend." "Like mother, like daughter," Tiana whispered, fastening the necklace. Meanwhile, across town, Darius sat at his desk in his downtown office, reading through a forensic report from his IT investigator. "Your wife's email was forwarded to a man named Bryce Langford," the investigator said over the phone. "He's got a history of predatory business behavior. Your wife's been talking inheritance and asset splits with him." Darius's jaw tightened. "Don't stop watching. I want every message, every call, every meeting. Quietly." He hung up and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. His pulse was steady, his mind sharp as a blade. The patterns were clear now: her late nights, sudden expenses, new clothes, and her growing disdain for him. He thought of his father again, how Kenneth Cole had trusted his wife only to die betrayed. Darius wasn't about to repeat history. Back at home, Tiana sent a final message to Bryce. "Everything's set. He'll be at the meeting tomorrow. Just play your part." Bryce replied, "Perfect. I'll make him wish he shared the money." She put down her phone, glancing at her 3 children asleep in their rooms. For a brief moment, guilt brushed her conscience. Then she brushed it off, just as easily. "He'll be fine," she whispered to herself. "Men like Darius always survive." But Darius wasn't sleeping. He stood outside in the drizzle, under the glow of the porch light, staring at the sky. He could sense the storm coming, not from the clouds, but from the deceit brewing inside his own home. He took out his phone and called his lawyer again. "Stephen," he said quietly, "draft a clause. If anything happens, marital conflict, infidelity, any breach, the entire estate remains sealed under my name. No joint claim." "Understood," Stephen replied. "You sound sure." "I am," Darius said coldly. "Tomorrow will be the day she writes her own downfall." The next evening, as the cars rolled into Brenda's driveway and champagne bottles popped inside, Darius buttoned his suit, calm and expressionless. The hunter was walking into the trap, only he'd built it himself. The evening breeze carried the scent of rain and tension as Darius's car rolled into Brenda's grand driveway. The lights from the mansion bathed the lawn in warm gold, but beneath the glow, everything felt wrong. Too polished, too rehearsed. Inside, voices and laughter spilled through the open doors, like a performance waiting for its audience. Darius stepped out, straightened his suit jacket, and walked toward the house with the quiet stride of a man walking into his own trial. Every step echoed a warning. He had built his calm like armor, layer upon layer of discipline, hiding the fire beneath. Inside, Tiana floated through the crowd in a deep emerald gown, her skin glowing under the chandeliers. The air around her shimmered with attention. Her mother watched from the corner, smiling like a director proud of her masterpiece. Family members whispered, pretending not to stare as Darius entered the room. "There he is," Brenda announced, her tone too cheerful. "The man of the hour." Darius gave her a courteous nod, his eyes moving straight to his wife. "You said this was a family talk, Tiana. I expected less champagne." Tiana smiled faintly. "It's still family, darling. Just a different kind of discussion." Bryce Langford stepped out from the crowd, a tall, confident man in a crisp black suit. His hand brushed lightly against Tiana's waist as if marking territory. "Darius Cole," he said with a grin, "I've heard so much about you." Darius studied the hand on his wife's waist, then looked into Bryce's eyes, calm, unshaken. "I'm sure you have." Tiana's heart thudded. She had rehearsed this moment for weeks, the exact words, the perfect expressions, the gasp she expected from everyone when she revealed her new lover. But Darius's composure was wrong. It threw her rhythm off balance. Brenda clapped her hands softly, drawing everyone's attention. "We're here because my daughter deserves honesty," she said, her tone dripping with fake dignity. "Darius has been hiding his inheritance, treating my daughter like a stranger in her own home. That's not marriage, it's control." Murmurs rippled through the room. Darius didn't flinch. He let them talk, let them dig their own grave. Tiana took a step closer. "You had the chance to share your father's legacy with me, Darius, but you refused. So I moved on. I found someone who sees my worth." Gas filled the room as Bryce's hand tightened around her waist. Darius smiled faintly, almost kindly. "Worth?" he repeated softly. "You think money defines worth?" His voice dropped an octave, calm but cutting. "Then maybe I should remind you what happens when a person confuses value with vanity." He reached into his suit jacket and pulled out a small black folder. The room went silent. He placed it on the table between them. "Before you finish your little speech," he said, "maybe you should see who's really been hiding things." The folder sat there like a ticking bomb, unopened but already shattering every illusion in the room. Tiana's pulse quickened. She hadn't expected this, hadn't planned for a counterattack. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for the folder, and for the first time that night, the queen in her own play began to feel like a pawn. Darius watched her silently, his calm steady, terrifyingly precise. Tomorrow everyone would understand that what she called a family meeting was actually the opening act of her destruction. The laughter, the whispers, the false applause, all vanished the moment Tiana opened the black folder. Inside were neatly arranged papers, photographs, and sealed envelopes. For a brief second, her mind refused to process what she was looking at. Then her fingers froze on a document header that read in bold print, "Paternity Analysis, Confidential." Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear the sudden silence around her. Darius stood still, hands in his pockets, eyes on her, not angry, not broken, just frighteningly calm. "Go ahead," he said softly. "Keep reading." Her throat tightened. She flipped to the next page. The names hit her like bricks, her children's names. The results were clear, undeniable. Not one of them matched Darius Cole as the biological father. The sound of Brenda's wine glass shattering against the floor jolted the room. Her hand trembled as she whispered, "What is this?" Darius turned to her with chilling politeness. "Just truth, ma'am. The kind your daughter has been allergic to." Tiana's lips parted, but no words came. Bryce shifted uncomfortably, his confidence fading fast. The air grew so heavy that even the chandelier's crystals seemed to vibrate under the weight of it. Darius stepped closer, his voice low but precise. "While you were busy chasing a fantasy, I was busy checking facts. And the facts say everything you've built with me was a lie." He pointed at the photos. Tiana and Bryce at a resort, her laughing in his arms. Another with a different man 2 years ago. Another with bank transfers labeled consultation payment. Each piece carefully documented, time-stamped, irrefutable. Tiana's breathing became shallow. You were spying on me?" Darius gave a faint smirk. "No, I was protecting what's mine. You just happened to expose yourself in the process." Brenda tried to intervene, forcing her tone into a maternal calm. "Darius, whatever this is, we can—" He cut her off without raising his voice. "Mrs. Alvarez, you should sit. You'll need your strength." He reached into his coat pocket and dropped another envelope on the table. "That's the property deed. The house, the cars, the jewelry, everything you and your daughter parade online belong to my holding company. All of it." Bryce's face paled. "What do you mean your company? You told me—" "Oh," Darius interrupted smoothly. "You mean when she said she'd inherit millions after I die? That's interesting, considering the will states, if my death occurs under suspicious circumstances, the entire estate is donated to charity." A few people gasped. Bryce's eyes darted toward Tiana, fury beginning to boil under the surface. Tiana's tears finally came, streaking her makeup. "You can't do this to me, Darius. You can't humiliate me like this in front of my family." He leaned close, his voice barely above a whisper. "You did that yourself the moment you mistook patience for weakness." Then he straightened his jacket and turned toward the door. "Enjoy your meeting, everyone. I'm done pretending." As he walked away, no one spoke. The only sound was Tiana's sobbing and the faint hum of the chandelier above. Bryce tried to follow him out, rage simmering. "You'll regret this, Cole." Darius turned slightly, eyes cold and unreadable. "I already calculated regret into my revenge plan. You're just part of the equation." He left, the door closing softly behind him. In that silence, the reality settled like poison. Darius wasn't a man defeated. He was a man who had just declared war, and the calm before his storm was over. The next morning, Tiana woke to chaos. Her phone buzzed endlessly, missed calls, messages, notifications flashing like warning lights. When she finally unlocked it, her breath caught. Her name was everywhere. Influencer exposed in scandal. Tiana Cole caught cheating on billionaire husband. Socialites luxury empire funded by infidelity. Her followers were posting screenshots, gossip blogs were running full coverage, and sponsors had started publicly distancing their brands from her image. Within hours, her glossy world had cracked into splinters. Brenda stormed into her bedroom, waving her phone. "What the hell did you do?" Tiana's voice shook. "I didn't leak anything." "Oh, really?" Brenda snapped. "Then how do these journalists have bank records, private photos, and that DNA report? Who else had access to them besides you and your husband?" Tiana froze. She didn't need to answer. She already knew. Darius. He'd moved with surgical precision. He hadn't shouted, hadn't threatened. He'd simply dismantled her life, one layer at a time. She jumped out of bed, trembling fingers dialing Bryce's number. It rang once, twice, then went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Nothing. Her mother watched, realization dawning. "Don't tell me that fool's already running." Tiana's lips quivered. "He promised me. He said we'd go public, that he'd take care of me." Brenda laughed bitterly. "Sweetheart, men like him only care until the money dries up." Meanwhile, across the city, Darius sat in his office, his assistant placing a stack of reports on the desk. "Sir, your team's media briefings went viral within the hour. She's trending across 3 platforms. Also, the audit you requested on Bryce Langford's company is complete. There are irregularities, offshore funds, shell invoices, and tax evasion indicators." Darius looked up, expression unreadable. "Freeze everything, quietly. Let the authorities discover it on their own." "Yes, sir." He leaned back in his chair, his eyes drifting toward the rain outside. There was no satisfaction on his face, only the kind of stillness that follows justice delivered in silence. He wasn't enjoying her suffering. He was documenting it. Back at Brenda's mansion, reporters gathered at the gates. Flashbulbs exploded through the windows. Tiana pulled the curtain shut, shaking. "Mom, I can't breathe. Everyone's calling me a gold digger. I can't even open my DMs." Brenda's tone hardened. "Then you fight back. Call a lawyer. Tell them he abused you, emotionally or physically. Anything that turns sympathy your way. You know how the media works." Tiana hesitated. "But Darius, he's clean. There's no dirt on him." Her mother slammed her glass on the counter. "Then make some." That night she tried to post a video, fake tears, trembling voice, claiming she was emotionally manipulated and controlled. But the comments section tore her apart within minutes. Viewers weren't buying it. Someone had already leaked her text messages with Bryce, proof she'd plotted against her husband for money. Somewhere downtown, Darius watched the chaos unfold on a muted television screen. His lawyer called. "It's working. Her brand's collapsing faster than expected." Darius nodded slowly. "Good. Let her feel what silence from the man she underestimated truly means." He turned off the TV and stared at his reflection in the dark glass. His eyes were calm again, but now behind that calm was fire. The storm had only begun. Bryce Langford's penthouse office once smelled of power, Italian leather, Cuban cigars, and confidence. But now that same air was thick with panic. His assistant burst through the glass doors, breathless, eyes wide. "Sir, the Federal Investigation Bureau just froze our accounts." Bryce's jaw clenched. "That's impossible. My lawyers, they can't reach the auditors," she cut in. "Your partner in Dubai withdrew everything. The clients are gone. The media is saying your firm laundered money through offshore shell companies. He stared blankly at her. Who leaked it? No one answered, but deep inside, he already knew. Darius Cole, the man he'd thought was a quiet, easily outsmarted husband. Bryce slammed his fist on the desk. How the hell did he know? Across the city, Darius watched the headlines unfold on his phone. Langford and Associates under investigation for fraud. High-profile entrepreneur linked to socialite scandal. He leaned back in his chair, eyes half closed, a faint smirk tracing his lips. You wanted my inheritance, Bryce. Now you can inherit your own downfall. Meanwhile, Bryce paced his office like a cornered animal. The walls seemed to close in as his phone buzzed with endless calls. From lawyers, journalists, and angry investors. He answered none. Then another message popped up on his screen. Unknown number, just one line. You took what wasn't yours. Now you'll learn what losing everything feels like. No name, no signature. But he didn't need one. His hand trembled as he dropped the phone. At that same hour, Tiana showed up at his door, drenched in rain, mascara running, her emerald dress clinging to her skin. Bryce, please, tell me this isn't true, she cried. He looked at her like she was a burden he no longer wanted. Tiana, get out. I can't have you here right now. What? She gasped, stepping closer. You said you loved me. That was before I lost everything because of you, he roared. Do you have any idea what you started? He's destroyed me, completely destroyed me. She froze, tears mixing with the rain. Bryce, please don't do this. He turned away, slamming his desk drawer. You were supposed to help me get ahead, not bury me. Where will I go? She whispered. He exhaled sharply, cold and final. Go back to your husband. Maybe he'll have mercy. But mercy was something Darius had buried years ago, somewhere deep in the same darkness that made him dangerous. Later that night, as Bryce watched police cars pull up outside his building, he knew it was over. The officers didn't even knock. They walked in with a warrant and quiet confidence. Down on the street, a sleek black Escalade slowed near the flashing lights. Inside, Darius's silhouette remained still, watching as Bryce was led away in handcuffs. His driver glanced back. Sir, want me to keep going? No, Darius said quietly. Let him see me. Their eyes met for a split second. Bryce's wild, desperate. Darius's calm, unreadable. Then Darius rolled up the tinted window and disappeared into the night. That calm was worse than any shout. It was the stillness of a man who had only begun dismantling the empire of those who betrayed him. The rain had stopped, but the storm inside Tiana's life only grew darker. 2 weeks after the family meeting, the mansion felt like a museum of bad memories. Every painting, every polished marble floor, every reflection of her own face reminded her of what she'd lost and what she'd never truly owned. She woke to the echo of silence. No servants, no driver, no chef. All had been quietly dismissed by Darius's management firm. The electricity bill went unpaid, the internet connection was cut off, and the house, once filled with luxury, now reeked of emptiness. Her mother Brenda stormed in from the guest room, still wearing her robe, waving a letter with trembling hands. Eviction notice. They're taking the house, Tiana. The bank says the property isn't even in your name. It's owned by something called Cole Logistics Holdings. Tiana snatched the letter, scanning it in disbelief. That's impossible. This is our marital home. Brenda's voice cracked. No, baby, it's his. All of it was in his company's name. You never signed a single ownership paper because you were too busy chasing handbags. Tiana staggered back, tears filling her eyes. He planned this. From the beginning. Brenda glared at her. He warned you, but you let greed drive you like your father drove me. You thought you could outsmart a man who built empires in silence? She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. I just wanted what was mine. Nothing was yours, Brenda spat. Not even your children. That sentence hung in the air like smoke. Both women went silent. Later that afternoon, Tiana's phone buzzed with a notification. Her lawyer. She answered instantly, voice trembling. Please tell me there's good news. There isn't, the lawyer said bluntly. The court accepted Mr. Cole's motion. All financial accounts tied to your name are frozen pending investigation. The paternity results nullify any child support claim. And His voice softened. The public relations backlash is irreversible. Tiana's knees buckled. So, I have nothing? Not unless Mr. Cole decides otherwise. She hung up, her mind spiraling. All her social media accounts were gone, deactivated or shadow banned after sponsors filed complaints. Her influencer career, gone. Her luxury car, repossessed. Even her jewelry was seized after Darius's firm traced them to corporate credit card purchases. When she stepped outside, a swarm of paparazzi flashed cameras in her face. Tiana, did you cheat on your husband for money? Is it true your lover's company went bankrupt because of you? Are your kids even yours? She covered her face, pushing past them, voice cracking. Leave me alone. Back inside, she curled up on the cold marble floor, sobbing until her throat burned. Hours later, her phone vibrated again. A message, no name, just a video file. Hands shaking, she played it. It was a recording of her, Bryce, and Brenda at the family meeting, plotting against Darius. Every word, every whisper, crystal clear. Her heart stopped. It wasn't just betrayal, it was evidence. The message that followed read, "You wanted a stage. Here's your spotlight." That night, the video went viral. Every major news outlet carried it. Public opinion turned completely. Brands that once begged for her endorsement now used her name as a warning. In the penthouse office across town, Darius watched the footage play on silent, sipping a glass of water as the room reflected the glow of her downfall. His assistant asked softly, "Is it over, sir?" He shook his head slowly. "No, it's balanced." He wasn't destroying her anymore. He was teaching her the cost of deception. But deep inside, a darker satisfaction flickered. The game wasn't over yet. There was one final move left, the kind that wouldn't just humiliate her, but haunt her. The grand ballroom of the Westmont Hotel shimmered with flashing cameras and murmured tension. What was meant to be a charity dinner had turned into a public reckoning. Dozens of journalists waited, lenses aimed at the single podium placed in the center of the stage. On the backdrop behind it, the words read, "A statement from Tiana Cole." The woman who once ruled social media now stood at the edge of that stage, trembling hands gripping cue cards. Her face, once always filtered to perfection, now showed raw exhaustion, dark circles, swollen eyes, and a soul crushed beneath the weight of her own ambition. Brenda stood backstage, whispering fiercely, "Stick to the script. Cry if you must, but make them feel sorry for you." Tiana nodded weakly, stepping forward as the crowd's chatter faded into silence. She cleared her throat, voice cracking into the microphone. I'm here tonight to speak from my heart. I made mistakes. I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And I betrayed a man who gave me everything." Flashes went off like lightning. She continued, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Darius, if you're watching this, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I just want you and everyone here to know that I'm sorry." Her voice broke completely. The audience stared, unsure whether to pity her or despise her. But what no one knew was that Darius was watching, live, from the back of the hall. He stood near the exit, expression calm, dressed in a black tailored suit that drew attention without effort. Only his lawyer and assistant knew he was there. As Tiana stumbled through her final line, the event host stepped forward. "We've just received a video message from Mr. Darius Cole," he announced. The hall gasped. The screen behind her flickered to life. Darius appeared, composed, collected. Every inch the man she'd underestimated. His tone was even, almost kind. "Forgiveness isn't a gift," he said. "It's a verdict. And sometimes it's best served through silence. Mrs. Cole, Tiana, your apology is noted. But actions, not words, are what rebuild character." He paused, eyes locking with hers through the screen. "Which is why I've decided to donate $1 million, not to you, but to a women's shelter for victims of emotional manipulation. I believe in redemption, not pity." The room gasped. Brenda's wine glass slipped from her fingers. Tiana's knees almost gave way. Darius continued, "Let this be your second chance, Tiana. Not with me, but with yourself." The screen faded to black. The applause that followed wasn't for her. It was for him, the man who'd managed to humiliate her with grace. The cameras swiveled from the stage toward the exit doors, where Darius's figure was already disappearing into the night. Outside, under the soft drizzle, he stopped beside his car, glancing briefly at the reflection of the hotel lights. His driver opened the door. "Sir, was that forgiveness?" Darius gave a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "No, that was closure." Then he stepped inside, the car gliding into the dark, leaving behind a woman who traded love for wealth and learned too late that both were gone. That night, Tiana went home not to applause or sympathy, but to silence, the kind that follows when you finally understand the magnitude of what you destroyed. 3 months later, the world had forgotten the scandal. The hashtag stopped trending, the interviews dried up, and the sympathy posts disappeared. But Tiana hadn't moved on. She was surviving, not living. She now worked as a front desk clerk at a mid-tier hotel on the outskirts of the city, her uniform pressed, but her spirit faded. Every day she smiled at guests with a voice that cracked beneath the weight of memories she couldn't bury. Sometimes a wealthy couple would walk in, his hand on her waist, her laughter carefree, and Tiana's heart would twist with the reminder of what she once had and destroyed. One evening, as the sky turned amber, she was filing check-in forms when the lobby doors slid open. The air shifted. The scent of expensive cologne, the kind she hadn't smelled in months, hit her before she looked up. Darius Cole stood at the counter. She froze. Her pen slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. He wore the same calm expression, tailored suit, quiet confidence, the kind of composure that made her chest tighten with shame. Behind him stood 2 men in formal wear, carrying thick portfolios. "Good evening," he said smoothly, as if greeting a stranger. "I have a reservation under Cole Holdings." Her lips trembled. Why are you here?" He met her gaze evenly. "Business expansion. We just acquired this hotel chain." Her breath caught. What?" He placed a document folder on the counter and leaned in, his voice low, measured. "You work for me now, Tiana." She stepped back as if struck. The lobby suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. "You can't." "I already did," he interrupted softly. "Every franchise under this name is now a subsidiary of my company." She swallowed hard, her eyes glistening. "Are you here to humiliate me?" He shook his head slowly. "No. That was months ago. This isn't revenge. It's consequence." Tiana's voice broke. "Then why come here? You could have sent anyone else." Darius stared at her for a long moment, his eyes unreadable. "Because closure isn't always silence. Sometimes it's seeing the person who betrayed you finally face reality without pretending." She tried to speak, but no words came. Her tears fell quietly as she looked down, hands trembling. He signed the check-in document, then slid a business card toward her. "The company is expanding internationally. There will be new training programs. You'll receive an offer letter soon. If you can handle starting from the bottom again." Her chest heaved. "Why would you give me another chance?" He straightened, his tone calm but edged with something almost human. "Because forgiveness isn't weakness, Tiana. It's control. You took my peace once. I'm taking it back by watching you rebuild yours." Then he turned and walked toward the elevator. She stood there shaking, watching his reflection disappear in the golden doors. For the first time in her life, the tears weren't from anger or shame. They were from the realization that he was right. The man she had tried to destroy didn't just win. He transcended her. He became the mirror that forced her to see herself clearly. As the elevator doors closed, Darius exhaled softly. His driver beside him asked, "Was that revenge, sir?" He gave a faint, almost melancholic smile. "No, that was the end of it." The elevator rose, leaving behind a woman who finally understood that real punishment isn't loss. It's living with the memory of who you betrayed. And somewhere in that silence, Tiana Cole broke, quietly, completely, and forever.